Kroger, an annual Boost membership just got even better. Now you can choose from Disney Plus with ads, Hulu with ads, or ESPN Plus on us when you sign up. Plus, enjoy unlimited free delivery, double fuel points, exclusive offers, and free items. Sign up for a Boost membership today. It's an easier way to save, including new streaming options to relax with while we deliver your groceries. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Bleav.
This is the Governor, Kane Womack, and you're listening to FunBelt Podcast.
If you didn't know before, now you know why they call this the FunBelt.
Very excited about the Sun Belt.
You know, while other conferences have been breaking up, our conference has become stronger.
The state of Sunbelt football is the strongest in our history.
I saw FunBelt Conference, and I'm like, I don't know what this is. I got to join the show. It sounds a lot of fun.
The governor brings us into our new era of FunBelt Podcast, as we are now a part of the Bleav network. Dusty Thibodeaux, Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of HowRazor.com, Shane Mettlen of the Daily News Record, the paper that I can identify with, but Jeremy still cannot. We're back from New Orleans, Jeremy, somehow, some way.
Yeah, and you know what New Orleans really needed? It needed
Shane.
it needed that Pulitzer Prize gravitas that Shane could have brought.
And with Grace McCall being a potential Heisman Trophy candidate, we should have had our league voters. I mean, Craig Stevenson was there from AL.com.
Yeah,
so we already secured one vote. We could have gotten another one.
I don't know why Shane couldn't be there. I mean, we had it all set up, Shane. We had the table, we had the microphones. You know, everybody was checking us out because we were the most professional act going there. I was wearing the smoking jacket. Tibbs was in his element, Shane. This is like what Tibbs lives for. It's like nothing but SIDs. And he loves SIDs. He's like pressing the flesh. He's like high-fiving guys. I mean, it was like watching a master craftsman at work. Only it was Thibodeaux working the room at Sunbelt Media Days.
You answered the question, though. Why couldn't I be there? Because Noah Fleischman was there, and they're only going to send one of us. So
they went with the sex appeal.
Shane is the eternal player to be named later.
It's all right. Well, but the Sunbelt Media Days was great. You know, we did our interviews. I think you can see some of them here. But I thought the commish in his opening remarks made a couple interesting opening statements. One being is that Army is not joining the Sun Belt, even though Army is constantly playing the Sun Belt. I really want Army to get in somehow. Keith Gill said that the Sun Belt, despite all this motion that's going on, is they're standing pat. We're not really looking. What'd you guys think of that?
I like it. I like the stability. I like the footprint that we have. There are a handful of schools that I think would fit into the footprint of the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
But none are really looking to jump ship for their respective conferences. And I don't see where the Sun Belt is looking to boot anybody out to make room. With the Pac-12, Mountain West being the schools that are likely going to be facing the carousel this time around, I don't see them even trying to poach anybody from the Sun Belt, because does it really make sense if we're talking about ODU, James Madison playing in the Pac-12 or the Mountain West? No, it doesn't. They need to stay in the Fun Belt.
Now, did you read that, Shane? Did you get the same gist from that?
Right now, there's really no reason for the Sun Belt to expand. Things could change. Things might change because we're going to see a shakeup here. But really, I think unless the American starts losing some teams and maybe an East Carolina or somebody like that starts to look at the Sun Belt as a better option, like you don't really need to go looking for teams right now if you're Keith Gill and all the presidents of the Sun Belt, because you like the league you have. You're not in real danger of losing anybody, I don't think. I mean, you can read the message boards and see everybody kind of trying to push Texas State out the door for some reason. Not push them out the door, but everybody seems to assume that Texas State might leave if there's an opening in another conference with Texas schools, but I don't know if that's like a sure thing. And not that like Texas State is not a great school, great institution with tons of potential, but they're also, I don't know, somewhat replaceable just because they're kind of on that island in Texas all by themselves. So
what's
I
funny
like to think if they leave, they name Jeremy specifically because of his antics
Of
at
course.
Media Day, pissing off the Viva La Boob cats.
I've already made an enemy of the SID at Texas State because I could not get, and guys, it wasn't just me, it was all of us. Well, maybe it was just me. JG Kinney.
GJ.
GJ? That's what I said, right?
GJ. Gary
Yeah,
Joe.
I think
Gary Joe.
Okay.
Gary Joe. Gary Joe. Gary
GJ
Joe.
Kinney.
and
I
this
could
goes
not get his
back
name right.
too, because I believe you also had some trouble pronouncing their AD's name as well.
Yes.
So there could be, even though it sounds just like Don Corleone, it's easy to remember. But
these guys are very sensitive about the way they pronounce their names. And, like I said, we're just some ham and egger podcaster guys. My God, this is Texas State. Anyway, though, I do hope Texas State isn't really getting on their high horse when it comes to leaving the Sun Belt, because that would give out some, I don't know, maybe some 2017 Georgia State vibes that were really unpleasant back in the day. And as far as expanding the Sun Belt, I'm probably one of the only guys who's like, man, make the Sun Belt too big to fail. I've written about it. The bigger the Sun Belt is, the stronger it is. Get all these guys in. Eastern Carolina, get them in. Army, get them in. Middle Tennessee,
Idaho.
get them in. Idaho can stay the hell in Idaho. I don't care where they are. The rest of them, we need to have them.
I think the ideal situation for the Sun Belt is stay where they are.
Okay.
But if the American gets rated to the point where they don't have an advantage TV wise, and East Carolina and UTSA want to come in,
Sure.
balance things out, add some rivalries,
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I don't think that would be a bad thing.
I you know what? Personally, as a citizen of Arkansas State, love to see Memphis get rejected by the Big 12 again and just finally accept their fate and join the Sun Belt. That would be great.
That would be awesome too.
All right, something else that Gil said. Maybe that was a little more deeper. It's a little more cerebral and probably out of my brainwave. Is that he was really calling to action, saying, hey, listen, Congress needs to get involved in NIL. There are too many Wild West scenarios going on. It's a lawless land. Everything needs to be put together. NCAA isn't going to do it, I guess. So Congress needs to step in. Does Congress need to get involved in this, or are we asking for oversight that we just don't need?
We're going to get heavy, I guess, because start talking about politics. Yeah. Congress might need to get involved at this point, but that's the NCAA's own fault. That has gotten to the point that they had over a decade to sort this out before it got thrust upon them, and they just kicked the can down the road. And now it's a mess. And I don't know personally if I totally like the idea of Congress starting to tell college sports how to run itself, but at the same time, every state legislature is starting to do it, and that's going to be tough to manage. So yeah, I understand why the commissioners and a lot of presidents and ADs and everybody else are kind of asking for that at this point.
Yeah, I imagine there's just some frustration, especially among smaller schools. They're just looking to get their NIL program set up, and they're like, what are the rules? Is it tax deductible? What are we allowed to bring in? What are we allowed to do in general? Why are some schools getting away with other things that we can't? Tibbs, what do you think, man? Weigh in on this.
I have full faith in the U.S. government. Sorry, I could almost say that with a straight face.
Everything they touch turns to gold.
Like Shane said, the NCAA had their chance. They kicked the can down the road. They outkicked the coverage, and now it is an absolute cluster. And I don't know what the right answer is for it. Is a congressional bill for it? No, because then it's going to be, well, that's fine moving forward, but we're grandfathered in because we already had this, and you still kind of have that Wild West mentality. I think that there needs to be just kind of a hard line in the sand, maybe by the NCAA and their new czar of saying, here's your rules going forward from this date, no grandfathering. Here it is, roll with it. I also think, though, that it will probably kind of police itself because when the IRS said that there's no tax benefit to giving, sure, I want my school to win, so I'm going to give them $1 million in their collective and support them for NIL. But it takes a little bit out when I don't get something back by being able to write that check and get some tax credits on the back end.
Yeah, we need some clarity on that. Something else Gil said, a third topic, something that we didn't discuss in our pre-pro, but a little bit. I guess we just discussed it a little bit. It's something that Shane touched on in an article that he wrote in the Daily News Record, the Pulitzer Prize winning publication. The commissioner mentioned that viewership had gone up like 100% since 2021, which sounds great. Everybody wants more viewership. Shane, did you dig into those numbers and figure out maybe exactly where the commission was coming from on that?
I did dig into those numbers a little bit because he was the only one. I went back and listened to the opening statements of basically the other commissioners, the group of five, if we're still using that term, commissioners, and he was the only one who gave that total TV number when he said it was 35 million people watched Sunbelt football last year, so to me, I started thinking about it. The TV ratings for linear TV are available for the most part. There's some games that didn't register for whatever reason, but you can kind of like start to play with the averages and stuff and get a sense of what was missing. So that kind of for the first time gave us some idea how many people are watching on ESPN Plus, because ESPN's never putting that number out.
Okay.
And so like, if you take the linear ratings that are available and then the few games that aren't available for whatever reason, whether the network or whatever didn't report or it just didn't make the news, whatever, you take that number and you can either do a generous or conservative estimate. It's 10 to 11 million people watched ESPN Plus Sunbelt games last year.
Okay.
And then you can break that down by the number of games that were on ESPN Plus, and you're talking over 100,000, maybe as many as 145,000 viewers per game on ESPN Plus, which is pretty darn good, I think. I mean, I'm not
really that also averages in our listenership for the FunBelt podcast also.
Exactly. Bleav people, you hear that? Like when you're figuring out how to pay us.
Yeah. When are we going to start live streaming games? I mean, we should get some sort of contract with the Sunbelt, and we could do a Thursday night game here. We could do that. I could just get on a cell phone.
I'm trying
to put this in like terms for JMU fans. Like I'd written about this before when they were in the CAA and they were on Flow Sports. They were getting about 5,000 people per game. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking about just an unbelievable increase in exposure on top of, money and everything else. Like, I feel like, and Keith Gill, our friend Noah, who was at Media Days.
We love Noah.
He asked the questions for me. Like I passed them along, and he didn't, get into specifics, not surprisingly, but the gist of the answer was, we're really happy with the viewership, and ESPN's really happy with the viewership too. And I think that's a pretty surprising number to be like in six figures pretty consistently for ESPN Plus viewership.
But let me ask you this there, Shane. What was the Sunbelt viewership in 1980?
I have no idea.
I can tell you it was probably zero, because there was football, no ESPN Plus platform in the 80s.
Yeah.
My point being is that now that we all have cell phones, I know like my subscription that I have for my cell service includes ESPN Plus. So I think also the exposure of the product out there, people are going to tune in and catch it regardless, not to mention the regional footprint that we have is definitely making it a lot more appealing when it's a Georgia State, Georgia Southern game versus that Pacific University out in California playing Marshall way on the East Coast as well. So I think that it's a really combination of things that have really helped drive that number forward. And none of the numbers surprise me. It would not surprise me if they were even higher than that.
Yeah, it used to be with ESPN3 as little as 5 years ago. The only way you could access it was like through your cell phone or through a computer. And now, it comes with your Hulu package. It comes with your Disney Plus package. It's just kind of part of, your regular viewing if you're a seasoned streamer. So it's almost like you've got a regular broadcast deal.
And I think, for ESPN, they kind of chose the Sun Belt as, I don't know if a guinea pig is the right word, but like their partner, the Sun Belt, the Big 12, they were the leagues that they looked at and thought, this is good for our ESPN Plus content. This will get people to sign up because of those kinds of fan bases that maybe they're not Rutgers in New Jersey that just exist by being in a large metro area. It's people in Huntington, West Virginia, and Stillwater, Oklahoma, and Hattiesburg, and these places that will seek out their team. The media, the TV, the streaming, I don't think it could be going much better for the Sun Belt right now. Better than I expected, really, just in pure numbers.
So Tibbs, you and I were at, physically at Sun Belt Media Days. Some of us chose to go online, kind of like, watching Sun Belt Media Days on Flow Media. I mean,
I watched it on ESPN Plus.
Okay, all right.
And Zoom, but ESPN, I had them both up.
Tips, what was your favorite interview? I mean, we interviewed 30 guys?
I think from a coaching side, the governor, of course, Kane Womack of South Alabama. I thought Carter Bradley was pretty good. And of course, Sean Clark, App State. He loves the show. He said he listens in. So we appreciate the support. And he was another great classic interview.
Butch Jones, Arkansas State coach, invited us, me and Tibbs, and by proxy, you too, Shane, down to Jonesboro to do our podcast there. But you know what? I'm going to tell you, there's one person that appears at Sunbelt Media Days that fascinates me above any other person in terms of just the sort of, malevolent, sort of angry energy he projects. And that's Curt Cignetti, JMU head coach. Like last year, he was pissed off because JMU was predicted to finish last or next to last in the tough Sun Belt East. You could tell it peeved him. It fueled his whole 2 days at the conference. So this year he comes in and he's pissed again. I'm like,
he's first.
I was like, what does this man have to be pissed about? And he's pissed because everybody's kind of doubting him or doubting the team because now that they don't have a established quarterback yet. They don't have a guy with the moxie that they who was the guy last year? Suddenly it slips my mind. Centeo is gone. Oh my God. How could I possibly coach without the great Todd Centeo? So he kind of finds a chip every year and puts it on his shoulder. And I don't think it's to drive the team. I think it's to drive Curt Cignetti. I think Curt Cignetti needs to have that atomic powered hate.
He likes to throw coal into his own fire, and take any kind of slights that he can take and use it for energy. Young Noah and I were actually standing in the Daily News Record parking lot earlier today, talking about how he opened up Media Day by saying how much he loves Media Day, and we were both kind of like, bullshit. You love Media Day. I believe the part that he says, like where he says he likes it because it means the season is right around the corner. I believe that. I do not believe that this man likes being pulled out of his office for 2 days to go talk to reporters. I don't believe that part at all.
I feel like at any moment he's going to reach over the table and just grab me by the lapels of my smoking jacket and just shake some sense into me. And Grayson McCall showed off his bling. He had the big championship ring which I'm sure that made Coach Signetti even angrier to see that flash.
Well, James, you guys had their Eastern Division championship rings.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I love the dig.
That will be fun for years. The only shame is that Jamie Chadwell's no longer there for
now,
to get under Kurt Signetti's skin. If you like to see Kurt riled up, it's a shame that Jamie Chadwell's not there to get him riled up anymore.
So are you implying that there is a Liberty series coming up there for JMU?
They keep kicking the dates down. It's in 2030 something at this point. If Signetti's still coaching at that point, he'll enjoy it.
But I'll tell you one thing, Tibbs, another great interview that I managed to get. I think you step aside. Terry Bowden, ULM head coach. That guy, he's like just interviewing your funny uncle. He's jovial. He's a little elfin. He's just kind of in a good mood. He'll lay down like the coach speak. How about we got to improve on the offense to get some guys from the portal. But he's just kind of a storyteller. He told this nice story about how the time that he was kind of out of work and he ended up kind of volunteering at Clemson, and then he used that time to get a master's degree, which was fascinating to hear from him. And we talked a little bit about his suits and why he wears them on the sideline. I asked him if that was part of his lawyerly appeal, and he said no, and he had a story about that. And he's just a really cool guy.
He's an old school guy. I mean, he's like Joe Pa, right? He's going to show up and represent the old school shirt, tie, sometimes a hat. That's just what you expect out of as the Warhawk fans like to refer to him, Tater Tot.
And I love the guy. I hope Terry Bowden never retires. I hope he coaches the Warhawks for the next 100 years. I hope that happens.
That's just because you want to keep that streak alive.
ULM will never beat the Red Wolves, ever.
It does feel that way. Speaking of never being able to be beat, a team that you definitely got a beating from this year, Troy's baseball team. And we caught up with the home run king of the season, Sean Lewis, to give us the inside scoop on his big year. Newcomer of the year, player of the year, Troy outfielder Shane Lewis joins us on FunBelt Podcast. Welcome in, Shane, as you get ready to get a minute to breathe and enjoy this past season. How did Troy kind of come on the radar for you?
It might have been September of the fall when I was at Chipola, one of our first couple inter-squad games. And one of the coaches came and watched. I think I had a home run that inter-squad. And next couple of days following that, they reached out. And just from the conversations I had with them, the way they talked, way Coach Meade, way Coach Wolgamott talked, it just sounded like, they're bought in and they care about their players and they put their players first. And especially like they put academics first too. That's what I like, because baseball doesn't last forever. I'm going to have to get my degree at some point. Yeah, I asked them when I could come on a visit, and I came on a visit, and it's kind of like my hometown. It's not very big. It looks a lot like Mississippi State does as far as like how the buildings are set up and everything. And just from walking around and stuff, it was awesome. The view's amazing. That's how I knew that I wanted to be here. And I knew Coach Meade was doing special things with this program too.
In Vicksburg, I mean, not necessarily within the footprint there of Troy, but was this a program you had known about beforehand? Did you even know anything about Troy?
The only thing I knew about Troy was that LSU paid them to come play them on homecoming, and Troy beat them. That's the only thing I knew about Troy. My best friend from back home is a diehard LSU fan. And I remember for a year and a half, he was talking about how much he hated Troy because they beat him on homecoming.
This past season, obviously you're first in the Sun Belt, able to come in, break, I think, every record at Troy there, especially with 27 home runs, the single season home run record. What did this season kind of mean to you? I mean, was it kind of a little bit of ease that you were able to join the league because the pitchers didn't know you didn't know them, so it was kind of an even playing ground, or what did you see this season?
Yeah, I wasn't known by very many coming into the season, which that always helps being a hitter, them not having a scouting report on you, not knowing how to get you out necessarily. And I just went into this year just kind of wanting to make a statement and just try to stay humble through it the whole time. And if I have success, I have success. If I fail, I fail. Just control what I can control. And luckily I had an ample amount of success and was able to stay humble through it. And then, the awards were great, but that was the most fun baseball team I've ever been on. We were all best friends. And I think that's a combination of why we made it as far as we did. And we came up just short in the end. But I think if we do all the right things this year that we did last year, I think we have even better team to make it farther than just a regional.
You said that you guys fell short in Troy, but Troy kind of came in under the radar this year. It was like everybody was focused on Georgia Southern. They were focused on a little bit on Coastal Carolina. Louisiana always gets focused on. Troy was, I wouldn't say was an underdog, but they sort of just were suddenly this team that couldn't be stopped. How do you explain first why Troy didn't really get on anybody's radar in the preseason, and then what was the magic ingredient that made Troy so good this season?
Here at Troy, we don't buy into like all the hype, everything everybody's saying, because I think we were ranked 7 in the preseason Sunbelt rankings, and it was just kind of our in-house expectation our goal was to make it to Super Regional in Omaha, like make it as far as we could. And I will tell you, I wouldn't say we fell short. Like, we had a great season, but losing your last game is always tough for sure.
Able to go with the at-large bid though to Tuscaloosa. What was that like, knowing that, hey, the fruits of all of our work are kind of paying off and we're getting recognized for this?
I think I can speak for that entire theater room when our name popped up on that board. That it was a dream come true for the seniors who's hung them up. That's the first and last time they ever got to do something like that. And just like I said, seeing your name up, your team's name up there is awesome. You get really emotional for sure. It just lets you know that all your hard work paid off from that regular season. And it's always great knowing that you have more baseball to play in the postseason when most teams are done.
I think the pitchers around the league were excited also for you having your 27 home runs, knowing that your name was being brought up a lot for the draft. I think we all heard the sales go flat though, and they're like, "God, he's coming back again. What happened? Why are you coming back to Troy for another year?"
My decision was easier than I'm sure a lot of people on the outside looking in would think. If I didn't come in, they welcomed me with open arms. This is one of the best decisions I've ever made coming here. This place is like home to me, and these people are like family. And again, I graduate in the spring with this year and next year left of eligibility. And I just don't feel like, from a baseball perspective, I just feel like I have to fine tune some things before I can be ready to be a professional. The past 4 years, I graduated in the class of 20 from high school. And that was when COVID hit and killed the season. So I only played 10 games that year. And then redshirt at Mississippi State. And then at Chipola was my first full year of playing baseball since 2019. So I just feel like I was even though I had a really good year this year, I just feel like I'm missing the reps that I need to, because when you get that call on signing or on draft day and you sign your contract, you got to be ready to go. And I just didn't feel like I was ready to go. I didn't want to look back in X amount of days or months and be like, I might not be where I need to be. Just come back to Troy, fine tune all the things I need to do, and get ready for the draft again next summer.
So Shane, you were talking about there's some things that you'd like to fine tune in your game. 27 home runs this year. But what are some personal goals that you would like to achieve next season? Is it more home runs?
If that happens, that happens. But I definitely want to cut out the streakiness for sure. I want to cut out the inconsistencies, swing and miss for sure. And I feel like if I can do that, the home runs are still going to come. I definitely want to steal some more bags. I only had 5 bags this year, which I had a workout this summer. I ran a 6.4, so I know I have the speed for it. This year I was either jogging around the bases or walking back to the dugout, it seemed like.
Yeah, why would you need to steal bases if you're hitting dingers? That's
I want to try to be the most toolsy player I can be for sure.
So have you reached out to Coach Summerall to try to run some routes with receivers to try to improve that speed? Or, Scott Cross is always on the basketball court going, take the stairs so that you can get the endurance up?
For sure. I don't think I played football in high school, and I think if I went out there with them, I would leave very embarrassed and very humbled. But no, that would be awesome. That is one thing too I'm ready for is football season. I'm so excited for it. It's going to be a fun time.
What's been the atmosphere like at Troy? I mean, between last year, obviously winning the West, winning the conference there, basketball having a pretty good season, baseball having a great season, going to a regional. I mean, is the campus just on fire? And have they pulled the uprights out of the fountain yet?
They have. I think they inserted the new one a couple weeks ago. Yeah, I definitely saw the atmosphere of this place change from move-in day in August last year to May, leaving day in May or June this year. I think it just made everybody be like, whoa, like we're a real university. And as far as athletics go, and I've never seen so many people stay at a football game the whole entire game before from a student body standpoint, for sure. Usually everybody leaves at halftime. That just goes to show how exciting it was watching Coach Summerall and his team play every Saturday.
So this summer, I know you said you kind of taking a little time out, focusing on the academics, just kind of doing some personal workouts. Do you feel it's important though that you play in like these wood bat leagues to kind of further yourself, or do you feel that you can kind of do it on your own a little bit, and that while they're important, you need to focus on number one, so to say, right now?
I definitely feel like it is important, especially if you're a young guy like a freshman going into sophomore year, or you're a guy that is at a big university and not ready yet and kind of missing your reps as far as waiting your turn to be the guy, be the starter. I feel like summer ball is definitely important. And it definitely gets you ready to be living on your own and traveling. Because in some leagues like Northwood's league, you're playing 72 games in 70 days, something like that. I don't know if that's the right number, but that's just a guess. It definitely gets you ready for minor league baseball. Just the feel of it, the expectations and the travel. But yes, and I will say I've made some of my best friends for life in summer ball. So summer ball is definitely a really good thing, and all of these leagues have good competition. Even there's some I think that are emerging that have really good ball being played in it. So I definitely think it's important. It's a good thing.
Is there a concern that you have next year? Maybe you slip a little, you only hit 25 home runs instead of 27 or 28. Is that a concern of yours at all?
I've always lived by like control what you can control, and tomorrow's not promised. You never know what's going to happen in 5 minutes or however long after this meeting ends. I could leave and get in a car wreck or something, but I'm not really worried about injuries. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If I'm not worried about failure, if it happens, it happens. But I'm going to work hard in the weight room and in the classroom on the field to make sure that I'm where I need to be come May, June, July, for sure.
I think the training staff's behind you with bubble wrap, just in case.
That'd be great. I've been blessed, knock on wood, to stay durable and not have any injuries the past 2 years while playing every day.
First trip through the Sun Belt. Give us the highs and lows. What's the best place to play outside of Troy? We know it's the best place ever. Where's the best place and the worst place to play in the Sun Belt?
First off, I'll say the Sun Belt is a real league now, for anybody that's wondering. there's so many gritty teams who just come after your neck, and got some dudes in this league. I will say that I love Troy. It's home. RPF is different than any other as far as the atmosphere, Doubles Alley, just the camaraderie of it. My favorite road trip this year was definitely Lafayette. Lafayette is awesome. I remember them, I think they were singing the 7th inning stretch song with no music. I think actually the music cut off halfway and they just kept singing the entire song. And it was one of the loudest things I've ever heard. That place is just awesome. Just by the looks with the trees in the back. The stadium's amazing. And they fed us some really, really good food afterwards. So I definitely have a lot of respect for Lafayette.
I think that's part of the ploy and the draw of that stadium is you're not focused on the game. You're focused on that post-game meal that they're about to feed you.
Yeah, I love me some Cajun food. It's amazing.
The flip side, where's the place you're like, God, we got to go there?
It was definitely Marshall this year. We had to bus all the way there. And we did stop in Johnson City, Tennessee, and then make the rest of the way to Huntington. It is just, they had the big stadium. I guess it's a minor league stadium that they play in. It was booked to some kind of, I don't know, I guess it was a travel ball or like a scout thing that weekend. It was rented out to like high school guys playing there. So we had to play like a YMCA like field, and it had holes in the grass. It was scary. I had to make sure I taped my ankles, but the infield was turf, so the infield was nice. But yeah, I think there was a ploy behind that too. Maybe, I don't know. I just know it was hard. It was hard to win. We had to fight and claw our way through those 3 games, and it was raining. It was nasty. Huntington was definitely a tough place to go and win for sure too. And the dreaded bus ride back too, that had a lot to go with it. So I'd say Louisiana was my favorite place to go, and Marshall was the roughest place to go, in my opinion.
So Shane, did you know anything else about Troy other than they beat LSU several years ago for football?
Not a ton before getting into the Sun Belt. I remember many years ago watching Troy beat Missouri on ESPN, and all they kept talking about during the game was how hard it was to get to Troy.
It is hard to get to Troy.
Troy's a city they were moving to somewhere in the panhandle of Florida, and it fell off the helicopter and landed there.
I know. It's like a seed that dropped out of a bird's mouth and just sort of grew. I tell you what, though, you can learn more about Troy if you just watch ESPN3 and ESPN Plus. So apparently we can learn more about other teams just by turning on the ESPN3 machine and seeing what's on. I don't know why I said that. I thought there was a segue there, and I kind of—
It's a plug. You're plugging it. Now we just have to come up with some plugs, promos, and parting shots.
Yes. And you know what? We still need like some sort of gong or something for that. So we should work on that. Now that we're on the new network, we need to up our game. We need to up our sound effects game.
Just Bleav, Jeremy. Shane, what do you have for us?
I think all I've really got is plugging the new network,
Ooh. All right.
Being on the Bleav network. I think it's going to be cool. It'll connect us to some other really good podcasts. I think there's some that even cover specific Sunbelt teams, along with all kinds of other sports podcasts. So I think it'll be pretty good for us. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the relationship with those guys and new technology and everything else that might help us kind of step up our game here.
Yeah, and I hope that Tibbs sends me back my microphone so I don't become the embarrassment of the Bleav network and their superior audio quality demands.
That guy that was outside the hotel said he was your agent, so I just handed it to him.
Absolutely. Plugs, promos, and parting shots. Well, I do have one promo. Go to Hellraiser right now. Don't even wait. Go this instant. I have a 2,800 word preview of the A-State football season. It's a lot to unpack, but brother, I unpacked every bit of it. So, do me a solid. Respect the game. Give me the click. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Hellraiser.com. Check it out. And I do have a parting shot, which we thought we might discuss it in depth, and I decided I would. We were asked to maybe participate in a G5 poll, top 25. Who's the best in the G5? Who's number 2, 3, all the way down to 25, right? Personally, I am opposed to any preseason poll. I don't care if it's the AP, the coaching poll. Shane, I know that you're a member, a legitimate member of the press. I'm sure you're asked to participate in these polls all the time. Let me tell you something. What you are doing is contributing to a mechanism that just hurts college football in general. All it does, it puts the same old people up on a pedestal, and then we have to spend an entire college football season knocking them down so people that actually belong on that pedestal can get their time in the sun. So I am boycotting all preseason polls, unless, of course, Arkansas State appears on one of those preseason polls, in which case I'll become a big fan.
I know who I will not be voting for in that preseason poll to deflate that ego.
Do it.
My plug is always warhawkreport.com. The latest information on the Warhawks wrapped up Sunbelt Media Days and gave a little preview there, having talked with Jairo Wright, the proposed starting quarterback for the season, as well as Aiden Hutchin, the defensive lineman transfer from Kent State. The guy brought out a notebook with all of the details and talking points, since he was a guy that had not even played the first snap for the Warhawks and already was being brought to media days. So interesting to see how the season shakes out for them, as always. And like you said, Shane, excited about being a part of the Bleav network, excited to see what we can do now with FunBelt Podcast, as we see kind of the sky's the limit. Hopefully it's not the big sky, but it's just the sky.
Please, not the big sky.